What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my Ultimate Sigma Stadium Guide. In this guide, I'll be showing you everything you need to know to hit All-Star this season on Sigma. I'll be going over general tips for how to play Sigma. I'll teach you how your kit scales off items and powers, and give you a full breakdown of playstyles and builds for each tank matchup. I'm going to be doing this guide a little differently than my other ones because Sigma relies on counter building the enemy tank more than any of the other tanks do. Especially the popular picks like Rein, Zarya, Sigma, and Queen. I think at least on PC, those are the four most popular picks. I think Diva is more popular on console. Diva and Orisa, you have a little bit more variety. But yeah, those four matchups, you kind of need to go one specific build, so I'll be showing you what that is. You don't really have to focus on counter building the DPS and supports quite as much, because at the very least, your kit just naturally neutralizes them with your shield, your grasp. If they get too close, you can rock them and one-shot combo them. So yeah, no matter what you do and build, you'll be able to just either counter them or at the very least just naturally neutralize them without building anything specifically. So next I'm going to do general Sigma tips that apply to pretty much any matchup in like his general playstyle. So his general playstyle is the same as the base game. He wants to poke and deal high amounts of damage from afar, but he doesn't want enemies to close the gap on him, because especially tanks, if the enemy tank's able to get onto him with like full HP and or like all of their abilities, they're going to beat you in a close range fight. You want to poke, keep that distance between you guys, and if they are going to get close to you, they need to like either use most of their health bar or like all of their abilities, so that way they're not able to pressure you when they actually get to you, and you can disengage or kill them. And you're also really good at just like poking and zoning squishies that like are, say like one of their DPS has like a high ground position. You can throw your shield at them. You can poke them with some primary fire shots, or if someone's diving your backline, like one of their tanks is diving the backline, you can throw a shield at their backline just so their backline can't help the divers, and your team can isolate that diving target and peel for them. So you're a very, very versatile tank. Just the one thing you're really bad at is like melee range brawling. You're the worst tank in the game for that. You just kind of want to avoid that unless they're already really weak. Next up, I'm just going to be going through and explaining like what his abilities scale off of, so you know when you buy something in the item shop, kind of what that item will do for you. So if you hit left alt, this is like a general tip for just the armory in general. If you left alt on PC, I don't know what the button is on console, but I'm sure there is one. Tab back into Overwatch. It'll say in that parentheses it says hyperspheres. That means this item will scale my hyperspheres, or which is my primary fire. The one thing it doesn't mention in the weapon category is weapon also scales melee. So compensator, plasma converter, and weapon grease, or anything that has attack speed, lifesteal, or weapon power will also scale your melee. And if you look under like ammo reserves, it doesn't say hyperspheres. That's because Sigma doesn't really have an ammo capacity. He just fires his 2 shots, reloads them. So max ammo doesn't apply to him. The exception to that is kind of like Friend's Amplifier, where it doesn't specifically say it applies to him, but you know you get attack speed and everybody gets move speed, so this will apply to him. Then with ability power, that's going to be scaling your rock and your ultimate, your gravitic flux. The one thing to note about gravitic flux is it doesn't, or the way it works is it does 50 flat damage when you raise them, and then it does 50% of their max life on the slam aspect of it, whatever their max life is. So you see in like bottom left corner of my screen, I have 625 health. Even if I was damaged and I only had 400 of it, my max life is 625. So I'm gonna take half of 625 when I land. That number will increase for things like shout or Lucio beat. Any like if you get extra health from like the scaling cash or any other items, whatever that max number is, 50% of it when you land. So just to show that 50 damage on the way up though, if you tracer, each bar is 25, and it did 2 bars on the way up, and then it did half on the way down, or half of our max HP on the way down. I'm gonna switch to the Reaper because I do want to show you guys when you like if you go to full ability power. So let me get like 100 ability power. Got 100 ability power. I get my ultimate, and so you see when I raise them, it's gonna do about 4 bars worth, and then the slam was not affected by it. So that 50%. So I get Roadhog. I think Roadhog is actually a better example than Reaper. So We're doing 4 bars on the way up. He does 4 bars. And then exactly half of his max life on the way down. So he's half minus 4 bars. So yeah, going full AP, yes, well, it does technically scale your ultimate. It barely raises the amount of damage because 100% AP raises it from 50 to 100 damage. So it's not really that big of an increase, especially for an ultimate. It's just going to scale naturally with your enemies getting max health. The other thing to note, though, with that, is even though the slam doesn't scale off of ability power, you still get lifesteal credit for it. So if I just get like, that's going to give me 35% lifesteal. Okay, now that I'm weak, I'm running back before I start naturally healing. I'm going to raise him up. I'm at about 300, 400, and I'm going up to 600 real quick. So you saw that burst on the slam was like 150, 200 lifesteal. So you still get the lifesteal of the slam. You just don't get bonus damage for the slam with AP. And then for your kinetic grasp, there's only 2 things that will scale kinetic grasp, because ability power doesn't. The first thing is going to be containment field. That you just get 50% increased duration. I guess cooldown reduction is also affected by kinetic grasp. So cooldown reduction affects it. This particular item gives you increased duration. Then you have this survival item called Beam Splitter that when kinetic grasp is active, reduce the incoming beam damage by 50%. So you only have 2 items that are not cooldown reduction based that will affect kinetic grasp. And then your shield, that's just going to scale off of your max HP. I have 625 HP, which gives me a 700 shield. If I just, I need to stop walking into the spawn room. I just buy a bunch of survival stuff, so like health. So I have a bunch of health. Now I have 1100 health. Now my shield is 910 HP. So as you get cash throughout buying, earning cat, or as you get cash, that gives you health, and that health is going to translate into your shield getting bigger. So the more cash you get, the bigger your shield gets, on top of any health items you do buy. Now I'm just going to go through the armory and kind of say what items I think are at least good in one situation for Sigma. I'll highlight which ones you should buy majority of the time, which ones have like a niche case, and then which ones you should just kind of avoid. His best builds go off of attack speed and weapon power. I think they're about even for most important like stat line, because having a ton of attack speed is really good into every tank except for D.Va, in my opinion. I think D.Va's better to go all in the weapon power. It's not all in, but more skewed towards weapon power, but most of the time I like splitting it between weapon power and attack speed, because there's a lot of good attack speed items that synergize with Sigma, and then weapon power gives you that damage to actually kill things. Ability power is good if you want to go rock build or flux build. I don't think they're very good builds, and I'll explain why later, but for now, ability power is something I'd kind of stay away from unless you're doing Phantasmic Flux. Cooldown reduction, obviously a good stat for everybody because you get your cooldowns up faster. Having rock up is just really good because it's a CC tool. Having grasp up helps you take on burst way more often, so that's pretty cool. I said max ammo doesn't apply. Both lifesteals I think are good. Weapon lifesteal, it's usually only going to be like, I don't know, between 2 to like 10 per shot, depending how much, if they're direct hits or splash damage, or what your weapon power is when you hit the shots. But it's a little bit of consistent heals here and there. While ability lifesteal, it's only going to trigger on rock and your ultimate, and if you on your ultimate you're going to get that big burst. If you like to ult when you're like half HP, you probably get more value out of the ability lifesteal in those situations. Move speed is probably in the same range as cooldown reduction in terms of importance of ability, so it's tied for 3rd or 4th. It's really good at helping you space, helping you position, because like I said, you don't want to be in melee range with other tanks. You want to be spacing them out, and having the move speed will help you get out of bad positions, help you run away from them. So I think it's still a really good stat to have. Then reload speed and critical damage, there's no item for reload speed. You can't crit on Sigma. And melee damage, again, you don't want to be in melee range, so having melee damage is kind of pointless. There is like a couple items that you can build off of. I would not recommend any of them on Sigma. Now we're going to go through just every single item. Greens I'm kind of going to just leave alone because it's just that one stat. And I kind of already explained to you which stats you should value more. But for round 1, it would be Weapon Grease and Compensator. And heartbeat sensor, or armor. But outside of those, screens are pretty basic. So Sigma's best blue in the entire game, regardless of category, but especially for weapon, is going to be velocity vector. 10% attack speed is something that you really value. Increases the range by 15%. It's because your base range is like 25 meters. This only gets you to like 28, 29 meters, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it does let you like bounce things off walls a little bit further. Helps you reach high grounds that like you normally couldn't reach, just to apply more pressure to people a little further away. So it's really nice, and because you want to be spacing and kind of keeping, like, if you're against a Reinhardt, you want to be keeping them like a max range. This helps you just keep that spacing and makes it harder for them to close the gap. So your second best blue in the game is going to be Aftermarket Firing Pin. You get 10% attack speed, 5% move speed, both stats you really care about, but both stats you really like. Plus, if you have like 20% attack speed here, this lets you kind of go into weapon power for like your purples a little bit easier, so you don't have to like buy a attack speed purple. I think those are the two that I buy pretty much every game. If I into like Orisa, and honestly, all the tanks besides Queen you can build this into, but I really like it just into like Orisa for the most part. Is Shield Buster, 50% attack speed for attacking armor or shields. Also will trigger like on a Sigma, Zarya, Reinhardt, Diva. Diva's probably another one you could do it into. Juno, and then Mercies and Genjis like to build armor as well. But anything that has shields or armor, getting 50% attack speed is really, really nice when you shoot them. Icy Coolant has its moments if you need a little bit of cooldown reduction and you want some more weapon power because you have enough attack speed. Talon Modification is never a bad item because it's a lot of raw weapon power. Not a big fan of this other specialty item for Sigma. I'm usually solo ulting tanks because they're like close to 1000 HP late game, which means you're doing 500 damage on the slam. It's not like a bad item, but it's an item that I just personally don't get. Stockpile is a waste of an item. It's less attack speed and you don't use max ammo. You can't heal allies, so this one's useless. I don't like if you're under 150 HP as a tank, you're probably doing something wrong, so I wouldn't get that one. I don't think Sigma really needs weapon lifesteal. Or at least from a blue item, I think there's better blues, so I'd avoid a Techno Leech. Getting into the ability blues, I think if you're doing an AP build, this Volatile Gravel is really good. Just make sure you keep landing your rocks, otherwise you lose that ability power, because you get up to 30% ability power if you land 4 straight accretions, which is really good. But yeah, that's going to reset back to 10 on a miss, so you just got to make sure you're hitting your rocks. I think Diva is probably the best tank to do this into because she's a massive hitbox, and if she doesn't have her booster, she's a free target, and it goes through her defense matrix. Containment Field's another good one that you might be able to build situationally. Has good cooldown reduction, and it increases your kinetic grasp duration. So if you're doing a kinetic grasp build, or you have some like powers that really utilize kinetic grasp well, or the enemy team just is really weak to kinetic grasp, like they have Soldier, Cassidy, Zenyatta, good tank for Orisa, like a bunch of things that are really weak to kinetic grasp. This could be a good item. Most of them I'd kind of just avoid. Wrist wraps could be decent because you get attack speed and AP. Multi-tool for cooldown reduction. I mean, basic stuff. But I would avoid these AP ones, the general AP ones, and just stick with the Sigma specific ones. For survival blues, Sigma is actually really, really good at abusing the survival blues because he has all that all that shield, which most tanks don't have. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is Reinforced Titanium. While you have shields, you take 15% less ability damage. So if you're against like a Fire Strike Reinhardt, AP Ash, Helix Rocket Soldier, AP Reaper, Torpedo Juno, stuff like that, you're just going to take way less ability damage, and plus it gives you extra shields, so that's going to be really nice. The other one that Sigma abuses really, really well is Crusader Hydraulics, because you get 25 armor, and then while you have armor, take 10% reduced weapon damage. But it's not like your armor takes 10% reduced, it's while you have armor, and your armor goes underneath your shields. So as long as you have shields up, that means you have armor up. and that means you're taking reduced weapon damage. So I like to build this into like what weapon power Zarya, any Cassidy. Again, Zenyatta's another decent one for this. Usually if they have a support Zarya, like so Zen, Zarya, and then like one weapon power DPS, like I think this is a good item to get. I'd probably get it over like aftermarket firing pin, or this over aftermarket firing pin as like your second blue of the game. The rest of the blues are not really that great. Like I don't see much value in taking them. Like push padding is one I like to buy in a lot of tanks. But Sigma has so much self-peel to like avoid sleep darts because he has grasp and shield. You can just avoid so much that you shouldn't need to buy cushion padding. Like the only thing that's really gonna like stun you is like a sleep dart to your back, which you already have like the tank passive to reduce, and shatter. Which again you can even block shatter. So I kind of stay away from those. Synced shielding could be pretty good if you have that orbital barrier power where the shield, you have that secondary shield rotating around you. That way you can be in front and behind of that one, and then you also have your shield which you can walk in front of and behind as well. So sync shielding could be decent because you get like weapon stats and move speed, and it's situational, but you get good stats for it, so it's not a bad item. And then beam splitter is really good into Zarya. So if they have a Zarya, I would do it. It's just melting you, or once the Metra eventually gets added, it'd probably be good. Mei and Moira, I don't think do enough weapon damage with their beams to like really warrant it. But if you're into like a weapon power Moira and a weapon power Mei, and they don't have a Zarya, it's probably still good to get. If they have a Zarya, it's especially good to get. The rest of the blues, unless you're going like a tank build, I wouldn't do. Like Mecha Z series, unless you're going like a max HP build, I wouldn't really do it. Converting your armor, like, I'd rather just buy damage, if I'm being honest, and get any of these. So now I'm going to go through Sigma's purple weapon items, which he has a lot of good ones, probably the most intense category. So the best one that I buy every single game is going to be antimatter. 15% weapon power is really, really good. And then 35% explosion radius on your primary shots. That's radius, so it's like every direction. It's a really, really massive increase. Helps you poke things around walls. If things are clumped up, you're going to do a lot more splash damage. Extend your range a little bit because they can technically be a little bit further away. So it's a great, great item, and you get 50% weapon power. So both those things together, really, really good. The second one I'm just going to mention is only good into Reinhardt and Sigma, but Salvage Slugs is a super, super slept on item. 10% attack speed is great, but the main reason you buy it is because you get 30% increased damage to barriers. And in the Sigma matchup, it's really about whoever can break the other Sigma shield first. Helps you get pressure onto them, helps you take space so they have to retreat and back up. If they won't have a shield, you can rock them so they cancel the grasp. They're just very vulnerable when they don't have shield. And Reinhardt, if his shield is up, he gets super comfortable, gets super confident, he wants to get in your face, and if he's able to get into your face, he will beat you. So getting Salvage Slugs as like your rush purple, so round 2 or 3, in those matchups is super, super beneficial. But the rest of the matchups, don't worry about it. I know you're wasting that second passive of dealing weapon damage to barriers, has a 50% chance to restore 1 ammo. I know you're wasting that because Sigma, because it doesn't apply to Sigma, but the 30% increased damage to barriers is so worth it that you kind of have to buy it in those two matchups. A third item I'm going to mention is Aerial Distressor. 25 shields, whatever. This actually is a new item for those of you guys who haven't played Season 17 yet. But it's 10% weapon attack speed, and you get 25% bonus damage over 3 seconds to airborne enemies. So it's meant to be like an anti-air item for like Freya, Pharah next season, Juno, Mercy, even like Genji double jumping. It's kind of like what it's meant to be. But it applies to just anyone who's jumping in general. And Overwatch players have a really bad habit of just jumping all the freaking time. If they're in the air jumping, it will count them as an airborne enemy, and you will get that bonus proc. And then when I've been playing the last week or so, was what Tuesday, so the patch has already been out an entire week. When I've been playing all week, and even like recording examples of this last night, that I'm scrapping. But when I was recording examples of this last night, when you could hit targets in a certain way because your primary fire has like a CC effect to it, or they kind of pull them to the center of the explosion, it can lift them off the ground. But right now, I just spent 5 minutes trying to get it to work, and I got it to proc once out of like 50 shots. So I don't know if they did a hotfix patch overnight or what. If that's not patched out and I'm just having bad luck and I'm not proccing it for some reason, Aerial Distress is a really, really good item. You know it's proccing because you hear the ticks going of that damage over time effect, kind of like with Ashburn, or I guess there's a lot of burn characters in Stadium. So like you know when it's proccing because you hear it and see it on your screen, but I'm not able to get it as like a visual representation for you guys right now. But unless they've hotfixed that out of the game, I think it's still worth buying. So if they did hotfix it out, just ignore that item unless you really need it into flyers. But like again, people jump all the time, so like you're still getting value. You'll hear it ticking. Try it out for a game, see how you like it. It's usually pretty good. Some other items that are good is Eye of the Spider is always a great weapon power item just because 28% weapon power plus a bonus 10 if they're below 30% HP. But like it's the best purple item in the game, at least for weapons. But it's 1400, so like it has the high cost, so you might not always be able to afford it. The other items that I like in this category, Booster Jets is probably the most universal attack speed item. So if you just need raw attack speed, 20% is a lot. And then when you use an ability, so Grasp and Rock for sure. Then I assumed it was like toggle abilities, like Reinhardt, Lucio, and Zen. They're toggle abilities, like Shield, Lucio, Heals, and Zen Orbs. There's no cooldown, so Booster Jets does not apply to them. I figured it's the same way for Sigma, but Sigma's Shield has a 2-second cooldown when you retract it. So I think Sigma Shield does proc Booster Jets. But at the very least, even if it doesn't, you have two abilities that do proc it, and the attack speed's worth it, so it's still a really good item for Sigma. Usually is like your 4th or 5th purple item though, not one of your like top 2 to 3. Situational one is Hard Light Accelerator. I think it's probably best into the Diva matchup, maybe Orisa, but those are like the 2 matchups I'd probably go at or Hard Light Accelerator into. But it's just weapon power and cooldown reduction, 2 things you like. And the last one I'm going to mention is going to be Weapon Jammer. If you're into a team that has at least 3 people building attack speed, like they just need 10% attack speed somewhere in their kit, I like Weapon Jammer because you subtract 10% of their bonus attack speed and give yourself 10% attack speed when you shoot them. So it's basically a 20% increase because they're losing 10, you're gaining 10, so total 20. So it's really good in those situations as like a 6th purple item. I wouldn't really get it too many games, but I'm just going to put it out there. And then the last one that has some situations that you'd want to buy it is Codebreaker, mostly into Orisa and then sometimes into Diva. I say sometimes into Diva just because like she can DM a lot of your shots. Like if you land a rock on her, she can't DM. You can fire a few shots in there real quick, help burst her down. I say those are the 2 matchups you want Codebreaker. The rest of the items I kind of skip, like Volskaya Ordnance, never buy because you're a tank. Chances someone's gonna have enough HP over you to use this is very slim because only the enemy tank who can. The Commander's Clip sucks because you can't use the max ammo. You can't heal your teammates, so this one's worthless. You can't critically strike, so this one's pointless. Same with Closer. For ability power ones, never buy any of them. I think the ability power ones suck. If you're going to do an AP build, though, you're going for raw AP. So 25% on the harness is insanely good, plus the accretion rock explosion radius. So if you're going the rock build, really good. Champion's kit's always good. Iridescent Iris is 20% AP, and then the other stats are helpful. Like you wouldn't go liquid nitrogen or cyber venom because it's only your rock that can trigger it, and you can miss, so I don't think it's worth it in those situations. Catalytic Crystal, you get your ult so fast anyways, but I guess if you want to get it faster, sure. A Sonic Recharger, don't get it because it's rare your passive's going to be healing you over health, so that's a waste. Triple Tap Tommy Gun could be decent because you like to shoot a lot between your abilities, so that could be really good. And can't heal anybody in your team, so like that's kind of a waste. Market the Kitsune, same as Triple Tap Tommy Gun, except I think a little bit worse because it's more like burst for squishies, while this is like burst for tanks. So you get it for 3 shots instead of just 1 shot. For survival items in the purple category, the only 2 that I ever buy are going to be Phantasmic Flux. I think it's great sustain because you get weapon power and ability power, as well as a lot of weapon lifesteal and a lot of ability lifesteal, and you can get overhealth. So this is like the one survival item I buy most games on any character, not just Sigma, but I buy them on Sigma too, usually like my third or fourth purple, just so I have some self-sustain. The other one that's really, really good is going to be, I think it's called Kuiper's Thesis. This item is best when you have Orbital Barrier, which is the one that spawns that little mini shield around you. Where's that? So you'll see that. Where is that? There it is. You see the little mini shield coming around me. When I put out, if I just stand here, I'm going to be doing 3% of my max health to this bot. Okay, so I initially forgot to buy the item. I was wondering why it wasn't working. See, I don't have my barrier up. I just have this little guy, so I'm healing him for 3% of my max life. And if I throw out this barrier too, now I have 2 barriers on him, and you see I'm healing at a faster rate, so now I'm healing him for 6% of my max life. So it's an AoE for, like, pretty big AoE. It's like all the way, like, around here, I think. That's a pretty big AoE in, like, all directions. Just be going on, like, permanently for your entire team. You'll end a lot of rounds between, like, 2,500 heals. I've gotten up to, like, 7,000 heals in a round. Or actually, I think once I got, like, 9,000. Usually somewhere between 2.5 to 6,000 heals is like my average. I've had a few games where I've gotten a little bit higher, but it's just a lot of raw heals. Plus, it scales off of your max HP. So if you get it you get it later into the game, you're going to get more value out of it. So that's a really good survival item. The rest of the survival items, I'm not big into survival. I could see Nebula Conduit being all right. I could see Divine Intervention being all right. But a lot of the bursts you can block with your Grasp. You have such great peel within your own kit that I don't think you need items to be tanky. You're just gonna be naturally tanky. The Vanadium Injection, if you're someone who doesn't want to use Sigma Ult, but like Sigma Ult's so good and it just naturally scales into the game. You want to be using your ultimate when you get it. You build it so fast, even like, and then you get like a Maestro, and like you're gonna have it up way more often now. Like I feel like you get in like 8 direct hits late game. Was that 4 shots? So like you get it really, really fast late game. So Vanadium Injection, like, probably not worth it. Oh, 50%. There. I was looking for this for something else the other day, but it's just a lot of life. But I wouldn't get it again. Boom Gauntlet. You don't want to be in melee range, so I think that's a waste. Martian Mender is probably it's between Nebula Conduit and Martian Mender for the 3rd best survival item. So it just gives you a lot of self healing and cooldown reduction are 2 good things. So, again, I'd probably, and then avoid these 2 at all costs. These are like, why are these even in the game? I just realized I forgot to actually add a section where I go over the powers, so I'm going to throw in a little power section right here. I may repeat little bits and pieces of this throughout other parts of the video, but just so all the power information is in one section, I'm going to go over each one. So starting with Zero Gravity, this is actually a very, very good power. You want to build it in matchups where like you just don't want to interact with the enemy Rein, or well, the enemy tank. So Reinhardt and Junker Queen being the 2 main ones. It also really helps you get away from Mei Wall. So if the enemy team has a Mei, Rein, or Queen, I'm probably going to buy this item. Hyperloop, just direct hits, reduce the cost of your accretion. It's never going to be a round 1 or 3 power, but it's decent for round 5 or 7 in some matchups. Like if you want to do a rock build, I can see it being good round 3 or 5, but I think rock build's terrible unless you're just trying to have fun. I want to do rock build, but into like the Diva matchup where you're having a rock up a lot just for the CC aspect is pretty good. Maybe into Queen as well for like a round 5 or 7 power. Trinosphere is the best raw damage in a single item or single power you can get. You just get a 3rd shot whenever you fire a weapon, and that 3rd shot's going to do half damage. It's good in any single matchup. I think Diva's probably the worst matchup for it, but the other 5 tanks you can always run it. I think it's a must into Zarya and Sigma, and really, really recommend it into Orisa and Zarya. So I'm going to combo Event Horizon and Symphatic Syzygy together. They're kind of the same power. But Event Horizon, absorbing damage with your Kinetic Grasp, is going to restore barrier health, and any excess health is going to convert into overhealth, so you can be pretty tanky with it. And Symphatic Syzygy is just going to convert that grasp damage back into attack speed you could use for 4 seconds. So I think this Symphatic Syzygy is better into like Reinhardt and Sigma, I mean not Sigma, Reinhardt and Orisa I think are two really, really good ones. Anything where you just kind of want to have high amounts of damage, and then Event Horizon's better when you kind of need to be like defending against like a Zarya or the Queen, I think are kind of better ones for that. Orbital Barrier, I know I showcased it at some point where you just get a little mini Sigma shield that just always up and it just rotates around you. This is really good combo with Big Hyperesthesis, as I know I mentioned in other parts of the video. Philharmonic Fortitude, I think, is your single best power. You can buy this every single game. A lot of matchups you need to buy it as your first or third item, just because the barrier getting bigger is whatever, but the barrier health always regenerating constantly is so massive. It allows you to have worse shield management, because normally in the game you like put your shield up to block a burst of damage, take it down, and like by the time you could put it up again, just barely started healing, so you kind of have to leave it down for extended periods of time. But if you get this, your shield's always going to be up. If no one's shooting it and you have it up, it's still regenning. I think this is like his best power. You should buy this almost every game, first or third round. Mass Driver, conceptually very, very, very cool power. It basically makes your rock a hit scan if you throw it, throw your rock through your shield, and it deals 20% increased damage. I'm so used to like leading my rocks that I usually end up missing, but just think of it as a hit scan. 300% is an insane amount. So I would say this power, like, you can get it if you're not going full rock. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's still viable, but like without going full AP and just wanting to make your rock stronger. Singularity, I think this is actually a very, on paper it looks amazing. On paper it looks absolutely amazing. In practice, I think it's actually a very, very bad perk that actually, or power that does more harm than good. I'm pretty sure I showed an example at some point in the video. I don't think I scrapped it. But normally when you rock somebody without this power, they're just going to fall to the ground. You can do an easy follow-up shot, and like that's your one-shot combo as Sigma. But when you have Singularity, they actually lay flat on the ground, like at head height, and then fall down. And then if you rock them at like a close range, they're going to be standing up by the time they actually hit the ground. So you never really had them stay still there. Even though they were CC'd, they were moving everywhere. The follow-up shots are really hard to hit. And unless they fix that, which I don't think they will, I think that's how it's intended to be, Singularity is kind of a bad item because of it. I think I break that down at the end of the video. Maestro, I think I underestimate this item a little bit. In my builds, I don't really recommend it that often. I'm like, oh, but there's a few matchups where I'm like, oh, round 5 in, go what you want. Round 5 or 7, this is a good one to just toss in. Because even without it, I feel like you get your ult every like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. You're getting like 3 to 4 ults in a round later in the game. With this Maestro, you can be getting your ult every like 10 to 15 seconds. And that's pretty powerful because if you just solo ult the tank every single time, that's half of their max life every time you use it. And you can just make the tank's life a living hell. Just Zarya bubbles, be cautious of it. Orisa gold, and I think those are the two main things you should be watching out for. If you're against D.Va, wait for her to use her boosters if you can. Yeah, but like Reinhardt, Queen, Sigma, just ult them on cooldown basically. Apogee alignment. This one, like, it's pretty cool. Like, it has its use cases because most of the time as Sigma you want to be keeping your distance, and if you're against somebody where like Reinhardt, Junker Queen, where if they get on you, you're kind of screwed. You'd want to get zero gravity instead. But there's probably some matchups like, I don't know, who would be decent in this? D.Va potentially, or probably not Zarya, Orisa maybe. Or like if they get close to you, that's not the end of the world. You might rock them and walk near them if they try and go towards your backline. And so having this extra damage for free is not a bad thing. It's like around 5 or 7 power into those matchups. And then I will go on a full rant about how Astrophysical is the worst single power in the game at the end of the video. So never buy this for any reason, no matter what. It does more harm than good. With that, go back to the video. Next, I'm going to be going into each specific matchup, what you want to be building, and what order, the playstyle for that specific matchup, so that way you guys know what to be doing in each game. So the first tank matchup we're going to be going over is the Reinhardt matchup. So I think Rein is your hardest matchup if you don't know how to build correctly and you just have bad spacing or positioning. He'll be able to punish you the hardest, especially in the low reloads. If you're in the low reloads, you probably don't have good spacing and positioning, so you're going to get punished more often. So I want to go over this matchup just to kind of make sure you understand what your goals are and how to build correctly to fit the playstyle you need to like win the matchup, if that makes sense. So the way you beat Reinhardt is through spacing and like just poking him down, never letting him feel comfortable enough to even get close to you. Because if Reinhardt gets on you at even low HP, but he has a shield and like a healer healing him, or he just gets on you at full HP, no shield, he's still gonna beat you. Like he needs to have no shield and no HP, or at least low HP when he gets to you. Otherwise, he's just gonna swing on you, heal up off of that, sustain, and it's gonna be a really rough time for you. So like you just need to like always be playing like near max range. If he has a shield up, poke his shield down, because a Reinhardt without a shield loses a lot of confidence and is just gonna keep backing up and retreating. That also means he can't be shielding his teammates, so that means your teammates have a better chance of getting kills, because your shield's still going to be up. He can't really do anything to damage your shield, besides throw a fire strike, which you can just put your shield down real quick, eat it with a grasp, throw your shield back up. And so your team's going to have a shield, they don't. That's going to help you in a lot of situations. And you can just, when the shield's down, you can start poking him, so he's going to keep retreating, keep feeling scared. And that's how you beat Reinhardt. Like I said, if he ever closes that distance on you, you're fucked. He's going to kill you, or at least get pretty damn close to it. So now that we know how to play the matchup and what our goal is, how do we build into that in order to successfully achieve that playstyle we want? And the code is in the top right now, but I'll bring it up again at the end of the build if you guys forget. So the first power we're going to get is going to be this Trinisphere. It's a simple power. You fire 3 shots instead of 2. That third shot is going to deal 50% less damage. Very simple, but the reason you go it is because it's just the most raw damage any one power can give you, especially early game. And you need that raw damage to poke down a shield, poke him down if he tries to get too close to you, and allows you some ability to fight back or just keep him at bay in these early rounds while you and your teammates have lower damage because you don't have your items and powers yet. So always go Trinisphere first. By that, and for powers, compensator, weapon grease, and you could third one you pick whatever you want. I think Heartbeat Sensor is the best. It gives you that move speed to help you reposition, help you get away from him. So that's like my go-to round 1 buy. Round 2, you're gonna have 2 options. You can either do salvage slugs. I would not sell all your greens for salvage slugs, but like you start with 3,500, so that means you had to get in round 1 you need at least 6,500. Get this? No, sorry. I want to keep these. Start with 3,500, so that means you need, what, like 7,500? I think. Yeah. You need 7,500 in order to get this as your second round. That should be doable. I think this is your best second round buy, and if you can keep Heartbeat Sensor, even better. But like repeating what I was saying, you want to keep the pressure on Rein's shield, because if his shield is down, he will back up, he will retreat, it takes him out of the game, he can't be getting cash. He's not able to get cash these first couple of rounds, he kind of just stays out of the game because he's too far behind to go in, because he'll get melted. He doesn't have all the damage and sustain he needs to get up in your face. Plus he's just not going to be as confident as a player, and mindset is a lot when you're playing Overwatch. Very, very underrated thing is mindset, and if they're constantly retreating, constantly scared, they're either going to make stupid plays because they feel desperate, or they're just going to keep retreating until they die, and you're going to run through them. If you don't want to go salvage slugs round 1, or like you didn't make enough cash, my secondary option is going to be velocity vector first and aftermarket firing pin second. I think that's the best two purples you can get to or 2 blues you can get together. You get a lot of attack speed, so 20% attack speed is really going to help you keep up that pressure shooting the shields, especially when you have 3 shots. And then you still get 5% move speed, so these two together is 10% move speed. That will help you retreat a lot from the Reinhardt. If you don't want aftermarket firing pin, you could do Shield Buster, but I would stick to probably aftermarket firing pin, because if you can afford a talent modification in addition to velocity vector, just buy a purple. But I think aftermarket firing pin and velocity vector is another good round 2 buy. Chances are, if you got salvage slugs round 1, you won't be able to afford another purple in round 3. So you can do these 2 on round 3 as well. So at the end of round 3, this is what your build should look like. You may have to sell a green, that's okay. But this is what your build should look like after round 3. And also in round 3, the power we're going to be getting is Philharmonic Fortitude. So you get 25% increased barrier max life, which is that part's whatever. The important part of this power is your barrier health regenerates at 50%. Oh, sorry. Your barrier health is constantly regenerating. So let me walk over to the bots. So yeah, I throw my shield out here at the bots. My shield's always regenning. Even as it's taking health, it's still regenning. It just, while it's up, it regenerates at a 50% lower rate. And then I'll watch the number on my screen. I retract the shield. It still goes up. It's just, now that my shield's down, it's at a faster rate. I can throw it out again. And you're like, why does this matter into Reinhardt? Because the Reinhardt matchup is all about tempo, as I've been saying. You need to keep his shield down. You need to keep him weak. You need to be keeping him low and scared. And if your shield goes down, well, like when his shield goes down, he has to go and hide. So when your shield goes down, you have grasp for like 2 seconds. Also, you probably have, after grasp, your shield is not like just starting to regen. Now you have to go and hide as well. And if you're both hiding, that helps him because he can start to take space away from you. He can start walking up. It's going to make him feel confident in walking towards you. You don't want that. This allows you to have your shield up at all times, pretty much. Plus, you don't have to worry about shield management as much. Because like a lot of time in the base game, you're going to throw your shield out to like block a burst, put it down, shoot a little bit, put it back up, block a little bit, bring it down. Here, it allows you to have a little bit worse shield management. But also, even if you have good shield management, because you're always regenning, you're just always going to have your shield up. It's very, very important for that. And that just, it gives you a little bit of defense when you're buying full offense. And it just allows you to keep up that tempo, keep up that pressure, and keep Rein on his back foot. Next item we're going to be looking into buying, I'll sell my greens at this point, is going to be antimatter, 15% weapon power, 35% explosion radius, that I talked about earlier. So I think it's just a really solid buy for Sigma to get. I get it first or second purple every single game. So into Ryan's no different. I'll get it second just because I value salvage slugs over it. But now you're starting to get some weapon power. So now you have like 15% weapon power, 30% attack speed, and bonus damage to shield. So very well rounded so far. Round 5, the power we're gonna get. This is for Reinhardt. I say you have to get these 3 powers in this order. Like you just kind of have to. The only exception would be if they have a May 2. Maybe you switch Philharmonic Fortitude with Zero Gravity. But you need these 3 powers. What Zero Gravity does is after you use an ability, now we fly away. We have 2.5 seconds of flight. I should have been able to get up there. I missed the amount. So anytime Reinhardt gets close to you, like in those first couple of rounds, if he charges at you, you have to rock him. That's your only choice. Now, if he just like pins at us, he might be counter building us. The best Reinhardt I've played against went whatever the power that lets him charge with his barrier up, and like it was normally if he charges at you, you just rock him. Well, now I can't rock him out of his charge, so he was kind of doing a good job of getting onto me. I bought this item. I just kept floating away from it every time he got close to me. So it's got like a get out of jail free if he does manage to get onto you. If he has like a Lucio or a Juno and you don't, he's just gonna speed right onto you, charge right onto you, and you need some form of escape. And because he can't go up, you just go up and you're free. You can even combo them together. It's really, really nice. You can get it round 3 if you need, but I'm usually able to get to round 5 without it. And then for the next power to get, here you start to get some variety. As I mentioned earlier, Aerial Distressor is usually another item I really like. If it's working like it did on launch, still get it. If they patch fixed it into Rein, it's kind of less important. You could also go Booster Jets as your attack speed item instead of Aerial Suppressor. Those work really, really well. Eye of the Spider is another good option just for that raw damage. So I'd stick to one of these 3. And the only other option I recommend is, where is it at? Phantasmic Flux. And that gives you a little bit of extra sustain, and plus you get a little bit more damage. So good for both of those. Any items that I am missing? No. So into the Rein matchup, I only get Phantasmic Flux or any of these. I guess you could go Code Breaker. I wouldn't recommend it though. So Eye of the Spider, Booster Jets, or Aerial Suppressor with the Phantasmic Flux. Any of those you'll be good to go. So let's say I like Aerial Suppressor. I like Phantasmic Flux. And then we'll round it out with, we'll sell this for Eye of the Spider. We go to round 7, we will sell that for Booster Jets. Extra move speed's really, really good too. Lets you stay away from Reinhardt in later rounds. And for our final power, this round 7 power, you have a lot of options. You can kind of do whatever you're feeling. But I didn't go over the bad powers earlier. You're not going to do anything rock related, because at this point Rein should have his barrier up quite often. So you're not doing anything rock related. You're not doing Mass Driver. You're not doing Singularity. Astrophysical is also really bad. You don't want that. So your options are going to be Orbital Barrier. Probably wouldn't recommend this one. It's probably like the 3rd or 4th I might recommend, but it's on the list. It's really good. And if you do get Orbital Barrier, you could also consider getting Decay Prosthesis as like your final purple. But some of the better ones I think are going to be Event Horizon, help you keep your shield up if they have a lot of burst, or Symphonic Syzygy. I think that's how you say it. If they have a lot of burst, you can turn their burst into bonus attack speed and melt the Rein even faster. Maestro is really good because I like to solo out the enemy tanks, especially late game, because they have like 1,000 HP. So when you land, it's 500 damage on the landing no matter what. Maybe more even if they have like a Lucio beat on them. So Maestro is a really good option as well. I probably wouldn't do Hyperloop into this matchup just because his barrier is going to be up to block a lot of stuff. You might get less direct hits too because his barrier is up. So that'd be the last option I would do. Oh, and I forgot about Apogee Alignment. Again, if he's on you, you're just going to fly away. And popping an ability is going to make you fly away, so I wouldn't really recommend this one in this game either. That's going to do it for the Rein guide. Again, code is SGY46. I don't know why they give you like a 250 character limit for the description when you have all this space, but that's like the longest description I was able to make. So I have all the items here that I recommend. Yeah. And then I guess, yeah, Reinforced Titanium is the only thing I didn't mention, and that's going to be good into like a pin build Reinhardt when they also have like AP Ash and like Helix Rocket Soldier. Because this way you take 15% less damage from the pin, as long as you have some shields when the pin starts. Otherwise, if you don't have any shields, the pin might actually just one-shot you. So that can be a good option as well into some situations. And I think Symphonic Syzygy was the one I kind of did for my example build here. But you can switch up that last one. Okay, so the second matchup we're going to be doing is the Sigma Mirror matchup. I'm choosing this one second just because Sigma's new, so you're going to play him a lot, but also he's pretty similar to Reinhardt in terms of how you want to build. Powers, you switch up the order a little bit, but items are pretty similar. So that first power we're going to want to buy is Philharmonic Fortitude. As I mentioned earlier, the reason you're buying it is because your shield is constantly regenning, and the way the Sigma matchup works is whoever has their shield up is allowed to be the aggressor. If you don't have your shield, you have a threat to have your grasp canceled to rock, so you can't rely on grasp to like give you cover for a few seconds. And then you're also going to be getting hit by like not only Sigma but his teammates, while he has a shield to protect him and his teammates. So shield break is the name of the game in this matchup. It gives you so much tempo that you need to have your shield up. And in these early rounds, because you can't really go shield break, your shield's just going to outlast him, and that's how you win this matchup in round 1. Standard first buy stuff, compensator, weapon grease. Here, maybe it's you can go a different survival item, or you can still go move speed, or you can go weapon lifesteal if you want, as like a third green in round 1. Round 2, you're either going to go salvage slugs, just like in the Rein matchup, or you're going to get velocity vector and aftermarket firing pin. Again, just like the Rein matchup. Going into round 3, so I'll say okay, we have this, and this. Round 3, you get your salvage slugs, and just like Rein matchup, and we're going to get Trinosphere. So at round 3, you have the exact same build as you do in the Rein matchup. Because again, it's the name of the the name of these two matchups is break their shield, keep yours up. That way you can pressure them without threat of being killed yourself, and they have to keep retreating, and that's how you take the space as Sigma. And then a lot of the same stuff, round 4, antimatter. The one thing I start to mix it up is, again, because Sigma has the poke to actually hit you and your teammates, and it's like AoE, so they can splash on everybody. Like if you have like a Zen Ana as your healers, or Zen Mercy, like all these single target things, it could be a little tough to heal up all this poke. Orbital Barrier is really, really good into Sigma compared to Reinhardt. So I think I showed you earlier. Yeah, I showed you earlier, but you get the barrier that spawns around you, and you get, let me sell these. You get the Kuiper's Thesis. Now you're healing 6% of your 3 or 6% of your max life, depending if you have your main barrier up at all times to you and your allies. You've got a bunch of healing. It'll help you get ult faster, help you get cash faster. So you can snowball. I think that's a really good round 5 purchase. Again, and then the rest of the items are the same: Aerial Distressor, Booster Jets, Eye of the Spider, and Phantasmic Flux. Whatever order you want on those is fine. And here the item I have as like an extra throw-in one is going to be Crusader's Hydraulics, where you get 25 armor, which is going to go underneath your shields. And while you have that 25 armor, you take 10% reduced weapon damage. Most Sigmas are going to be going weapon damage, so that's good into them. So if they have like but both their DPS are also going weapon damage, or they have like a Zen plus weapon damage, DPS, it's really good in that situation, and it's pretty cheap too. Then you could replace like aftermarket firing pin, or maybe you just had an automatic cache, so that could be pretty good, and you can buy that like round 3 or 4 if needed. Let's do the Zarya matchup next. Oh, let me get the code. Sigma code MRH73 if you want the Sigma code, so on that right side of the screen over here. Now we'll go into the Zarya matchup. I'm going to do Zarya next because she's probably the most, or her and Rein are probably the 2 most popular tanks. Sigma's new, so these are probably the 3 most popular tanks that are out there. And Sigma matchup's a little bit different than the others because Sigma Zarya matchup's a little bit different than the others because her beam goes through your grasp. She has the highest damage output of any tank for sure, but maybe even any character if she has like full charge. She just a ton of damage. How do you beat Zarya? Like what counters Zarya? Because she just outputs so much raw damage. So like Reinhardt's like her toughest matchup because her beam ignores like every tank's like defense mechanism besides shields. So Sigma Grasp, it goes through Diva Defense Matrix. Queen, she can cleanse the Queen's bleed that kind of gives her sustain. And like Orisa, she can go through Javelin Spin. So like her beam just counters all these tank matchups except for shields. And so the way I play this matchup, and I've won every single game against Zarya this season, is again, I go for Philharmonic Fortitude first, because it lets me have that barrier up way more often. And my grasp is useless in this matchup, at least for the Zarya. So, like, it just denies her so much cash. And then, so if Zarya that's behind in cash is nowhere near as scary as a fed Zarya. So, if you're able to keep her, what's the expression? Below the curve? Yeah, if you're able to keep her below the curve in terms of cash, you have a massive advantage going into the later rounds. And so, again, Philharmonic Fortitude is what I think is the best item. Obviously, your spam is going to give her charge. Like, you can't really avoid that. Try not to shoot her while she's already bubbled, but she's going to get charge off of you. That's why you need to have your shield up as often as you can so she can't convert that charge into actual damage and get cash off of it. So yeah, round 1, typical first 2 items. Going to be attack speed and weapon speed. And then the third green item can be whatever you want. And per usual, velocity vector. Going to be that first blue if you want. And then here you have some options for the second one. You can still go aftermarket firing pin. I threw in shield buster because she has shields and you can melt her down a little bit quicker. But beam splitter, if she is getting onto you, could be a secondary alternative. Or a second. Beam splitter can be an alternative for aftermarket firing pin if your shield's getting broken and you need that extra sustain so your grasp isn't completely useless. So let's say you got that instead. And then round 3, you're going to get Orbital Barrier. this gives you a second barrier, so every few seconds, you're going to have if your shield's down and that barrier is coming around, it's going to make it harder to hit you. While you're not fully protected like your normal shield, you still have some protection. And then you get Decay Prosthesis. Now you're healing and sustaining through her damage. Like she's going to do a little bit of poke onto you while your shield's down. You put your shield up, you're instantly healing again. Plus you're healing your allies around you. Counters the right-click build also really, really well. Because I think right-click build is probably Zarya's strongest build this patch. And it's a lot of poking and chip. And if you're just constantly having like 50, 60 heals per second on your team and everyone around you, it's going to be really good and not let her actually get any eliminations. So yeah, we're going to get that tanky core at the start. And then once we're into round 4 or 5, we're just going to start going full weapon damage for the rest of the game. So we're going to get Antimatter as like your go-to, as your second purple again. And you have options. You can go Aerial Distressor, you can go Booster Jets, you can go Eye of the Spider, you can even go Phantasmic Flux for even more sustained. The one thing we're not going here that we're going in other games was Salvage Slugs. I've heard a few people say they kind of like Salvage Slugs. You can melt, like if she does get comfortable, she's like, oh, my barriers, or my bubbles, I can walk up, and you can melt the bubbles instantly. I don't think it's worth it. You're going to give her just some more poke in the meantime. I don't think it's worth it. I would avoid it. So that's my Zarya build. Code is going to be EGJJV in that top right, and a little summary of kind of what I was just telling you guys. Yeah, full build. Sell this. Yeah, I like this better. Say that's your full build. So Thesis, Antimatter, Aerial Distressor, Eye of the Spider, and Booster Jets. Aerial Distressor is not working. You throw in like a either a Weapon Jammer, Hard Light Accelerator, or good fallback options as well. Okay, so next up we're going to be doing the D.Va matchup. You don't see her too often, but I've been seeing her a bit more this patch compared to others. People are testing her out with her changes. I still think she's the worst tank in the game, but this is a very Sigma favored matchup. You have way better poke than her. D.Va has like absolutely terrible poke. So she kind of has to fly into your team. Once she uses Booster Jets, she's just a free target for you to rock her because she's so big and immobile as well as she's shooting. Let her, when she flies into your team, throw a rock at her, and then you have, with your shield, you can either throw it at her or your teammate to kind of protect your teammate. You can throw it at their DPS or their backline just to kind of zone them off with your shield. You can keep shooting the D.Va to help your team to mech her. You have options. But the important thing is, like, if she flies in, it's basically a free rock, and then she can't do anything about it, and then she's kind of wasting her DM trying to live. It's a really, really, really bad matchup for D.Va. And, like, her best thing she can do, like Zarya, break your shields. If you don't have your shield, you're pretty vulnerable. You have to play a little bit more respectful. And she has pretty bad shield break, so Philharmonic Fortitude's a really good go-to. I build her pretty much like I do Zarya, so Philharmonic Fortitude, Orbital Barrier, your standard first couple of rounds. This one I didn't put an aftermarket firing pin. You could still go with that. I have Icy Coolant up here because Coolant Reduction is going to get your rock up a little bit more often. Having your rock up a little bit more often will help you rock her when she has to go into your team. So that's why I put Icy Coolant. I put Reinforced Titanium in here because I know they nerfed her bomb build, thankfully, because like 200% radius was insane. Like, if that thing was just on your screen, you were dead, even if it was on the other side of the map. So if you have some shields, you take 15% reduced damage from her bombs, but also if you're doing like a micro missile lava build, this will help you against that as well. And the rest of the build's pretty much the same. So Antimatter, Aerial Distressor, which she flies, so you can get extra value against her. Phantasmic Flux, Booster Jets. I have Hard Light Accelerator for the same reasons that I have Icy Coolant. All the same stuff. The only thing I think I don't have here that could be decent is Codebreaker, because she has so much armor. When you rock her, you get a couple shots in. And the only other thing I'll mention about the D.Va matchup is probably, instead of doing like 50% weapon or attack speed, 50% weapon power, I'd kind of switch it up. Maybe like go like Eye of the Spider and Hard Light Accelerator, so you're like 50-20. So you still have some attack speed, but less than normal, because the attack speed is really good when you have like endless amount of shots, you get more damage output in the long run. But because D.Va has defense matrix, you want to make the shots you do get count a little bit more. And then for final perks, I have Hyperloop as the one I chose here. But again, you can really go anything you want at this point, just because it gets your rock up. And your rock, the point isn't to do damage to her, it's just to stun her. And so getting it up as often as you can is really, really good. And then you could even do Event Horizon. Go over the powers. Event Horizon is a good option, just to get your showed up, have more uptime. I would avoid Symphonic Syzygy for this matchup because again, she'll eat the damage of your attack speed, so not really as much value. The same reason I don't go Trinisphere here. Floating, and unless if they have a Mei, you could go Zero Gravity. I didn't mention that in like the Zarya or Sigma sections. If they have a Mei, Zero Gravity is always a go-to item. Maestro, I tried it into a D.Va. I didn't like Maestro to D.Va. I liked it more into like Zarya, Rein, Sigma, and Queen can work too. Another one that you could actually go, this is probably more of like a 7th round item, is going to be Apogee Alignment. Is that the one I picked for this one? I picked Event Horizon. Apogee Alignment could be really, really good because it's going to be somewhat near you when you rock her. You get 2 extra spheres that are going to hit her while you're shooting, 3 damage. That could be a good alternative as well. So code for D.Va is going to be BN9EG. A little bit of description there as well. So, and for the D.Va, I would get Philharmonic Fortitude first, but then you can switch up these last 3 powers into whatever you want them to be. Next up, we have Junker Queen. Now, I think this is arguably her toughest matchup in Stadium. Reinhardt could be, but I think there's enough, like with Salvage Slugs and Zero Gravity, I think you can get away from Reinhardt easy enough if you have a little bit of your help from your team breaking the shield as well. But I think at a mid to low elo, it's probably Reinhardt. Higher elos, I think Junker Queen's your toughest matchup as Sigma, because like Rein, she has move speed to get on top of you, and she's really, really good at melee range. She's going to destroy you melee range. But she doesn't have a shield, but she's very fast and very slim. And so that combination makes her very, very hard to hit your rocks on, so to disengage from. Like Reinhardt's locked into his pin animation, so it's like an easy rock. Queen doesn't have that. She has a move speed. Steroid, so tough matchup. And then she has a lot of sustain through her axe, through her melee, through shout. So that's just a tough matchup for you. So for this one, Philharmonic Fortitude, again, just so you have your shield up so you can keep the pressure up. Same reason you go this against the Zarya matchup and the Sigma matchup. First is like you need to have your shield up in order to keep applying pressure, keep the tempo lead over her. Because just like Reinhardt, if you let her get her HP back and all her cooldowns up, she's just going to shout at you, throw Carnage through your shield and grasp, and just melt you. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. So you need to keep your shield up to keep the pressure on. She's not really good in the poke phase. She's really good in the Yaolin stage of the fight. So you need to really win that poke stage hard. Standard buy though, first round and second round. I went Icy Coolant instead of Aftermarket Firing Pin. I put it here. So like you have options. Reinforced Titanium is here as well because Carnage and Wound, if she goes through the shout build, like the AoE wound, all ability power, so you take a little bit less damage from this. Everything is really the same in terms of items, nothing different. But for powers, this is where you mix it up. I think this one is really important. Around 3, you get Zero Gravity. Theoretically, you could get it round 1, but I don't think it's a great round 1 power. I think round 3 is probably the earliest you get it. This way, you can just permanently avoid from her and run from her, and maybe put your team at a little bit more of a risky spot. So if you have like Soldier, Cass, and Zenyatta, your team might need you to stay down, and it'd be like the one situation you avoid it. But if you have like mobile supports and mobile DPS, which most of the Stadium cast is pretty mobile, you got Zero Gravity, so she has nobody to run to, nobody to get access to, and she's just like a chicken with her head cut off. So that'd be my recommended round 3 power. And I chose Hyperloop just to get your rock up a little bit more often, and Trinisphere. But you can really do anything. Like Event Horizon's not great. You could do Orbital Barrier, because you also need, I didn't mention this in the playstyle, you have to avoid her knife. That's the one cooldown you have to be paying attention to. Avoid her knife. Because if she lands the knife on you, she's gonna pull you in. She can get that one item that pulls you like almost twice as far. And so she's gonna, like, you're getting pulled into her team, you're out of position, you're right on top of her, and now she didn't even have to use any of her like sustain cooldowns or damage abilities to get onto you. And so she's just gonna melt you. So orbital barrier gives you like a secondary line of protection to block her knives. But so after you have the Philharmonic Fortitude and Zero Gravity, you can go anything from Hyperloop, Sphere, probably avoid the Grasp ones. You could do Orbital Barrier, you could do Maestro, you could do Apogee Alignment, because she'll eventually going to get near you, most likely. So I'd say any of these 5 right here, you can do for round 5 and 7. And build-wise, again, a lot of the same stuff. Also this stuff, boom, boom, boom. There's your full build. Oh, I think it didn't get any matter. Okay, there's your full build. Get to Orisa. Oh, sorry, Magenta Queen code V3B08. And we got Orisa. Orisa, you actually do pretty well into her. She's probably the second most poke-oriented tank in the stadium so far, but she has way better brawl than you still. Like, you don't really want to let her get close, but you do have a pretty good matchup into her. She doesn't have the damage to kill you. She just like gets in your face and is hitting headshots. Your rock can go through her javelin spin, but obviously if she's fortified, your rock's gonna do nothing. Your ult's not gonna do anything if she's fortified. Your grass can eat her ult, not her ult, javelin spear and her shots. So like you guys neutralize each other a ton. So try not to interact with the Orisa and just use your shield to like block off their healer's LOS of the Orisa, or throw it at like a high ground DPS and poke them out. Kind of just want to be ignoring the Orisa and shooting everybody else. But then obviously if the Orisa oversteps or she gets weak, that's when you can choose to melt her, or if she doesn't have Fortify. She's the only tank I don't really want to solo up because she does get her Fortify up a lot. So maybe if you see her use her Fortify, and then you can, as soon as it ends, that's when you want to alter. That's fine too. But I go Trinosphere just to get more raw damage out there, get that cash flowing in the early rounds. Again, Philharmonic Fortitude for the same reasons as all the other heroes. You need to keep that pressure and that tempo up. I think it's Sigma's best item by far. Should be building it every single game. Round 3, you have variety in your powers. I chose Symphonic Syzygy because you can turn that damage that you're getting back into damage that you can send back towards the Orisa through getting attack speed. You could do Orbital Barrier if you want to go to Kyber's Thesis. I wouldn't do Hyperloop because, again, your creation is not very valuable into the Orisa because of her Fortify. Yeah, you don't really need Zero Gravity unless they have a May. Maestro. Orisa has Fortify soft, so I want to go Maestro. And Apogee Alignment, you could do if Orisa's playing a little bit closer than normal. You also do Event Horizon. So, you have options. Build whatever you think's most fun, or whatever your counters their team the most. But for Orisa, I think after these 2 items, it doesn't really matter. Or these 2 powers, it doesn't really matter. One thing I will round off with, which I meant to do this in the beginning of the video, but I forgot, is there's a reason you guys did not see a single rock build shown in any of these matchups. And rock build is absolutely terrible, and they need to do something to buff it, because it is terrible. So there's 2 reasons why it's really bad. One, your ultimate damage your AP only scales your rock and the uplifting part of your ultimate. Your rock has, what's your rock's cooldown? Like your base cooldown. You have you're putting all your ability scaling and all your cash into something that has a 10-second cooldown and can easily miss. So like that's not good. For one. How much damage does it do? I actually don't know the number off the top of my head. That's actually pretty good damage for a direct hit. I'd say that was like close to 100 damage, which is pretty solid for like no items. No, 25% increased splash damage. So what is it normally? Yeah, just shy of 100, or just over 100, I think. So about 100 damage. It's still really good damage for a direct hit. Well, let's say I have, what's the power? Singularity. Now she healed up. Let's get a Roadhog. Because he falls over easier. Or he's not gonna die. So normally when you rock somebody, they lay flat on the ground. I'll show you that. So you rock somebody, they lay flat on the ground. You can easily do a follow-up shot melee if they're close enough. But if you get singularity, you're gonna rock them. They're gonna fly in the air, and then they're gonna stand up before they even hit the ground. Getting your follow-up shots on that is way, way harder than if they just fall to the ground. So like, I'll try and follow up here. Yeah, like where did he go? He went behind me. Like, that's so stupid. Like, you don't just say, oh, you're bad, you can't aim. Like, I was a PM top 500 for 30 plus seasons in Overwatch 1. Like, as a tank main, I played Sigma top 500 for many years during double shield meta. Like, it's just really awkward. Maybe it's because I have so much muscle memory on them falling that being there is not it. Like, Mass Driver helps a little bit too. I think Mass Driver is a very, very fun concept, and they executed that really well. But that singularity part of them lifting up, I can't tell if it's a bug or not, because they include the second part of singularity where enemies are pulled towards its explosion down here is, I think, the reason why they lift up to the center. So like, I don't think that's gonna get patched out anytime soon. The other reason why it's not good, so I have both rock items, and I'll go 100% AP. So what's gonna give me that? Cool. 100% AP. I'm gonna do a rock and then 2 shots and see how much damage we do. Rock, 2 shots. He is about between the A and the D in terms of how much damage I did to him. And that's like putting all of my ability into this single item, the single ability. All my cash and items into this single ability. And like for the other 10 seconds while it's on cooldown, or if I miss it, like I have nothing else to show for it. If I go 100% weapon power, I'll get by this. Actually, they're not getting below 30% life, but I'll see if I can get it without it. Any other things to give me? 20% because I can't crit. 15 puts me at 80. And I can cheat and do hard light accelerator. Because if I hold grasp, it's gonna give me 1 stack. I rock 100%, and boom, boom. Okay, so just before the H, but remember, this is without any powers. By round, let's say I have 2 powers because the other one had 2 powers. So get apogee alignment and trinosphere for the sake of doing more damage. I'm gonna do this again. So I grasp to get 5% more weapon power. Throw my rock, and then boom, boom, boom. Not even hit the last one. And he's already like between the R and the O. So I did like another 75 damage in my rock combo by going weapon damage over AP, which I think is the other like big flaw with it. And now I still have like a weapon that's going to do a ton of damage. I don't have that like 10-second downtime with my rock. So unfortunately, even though the powers for rock build are really cool, it's just not worth it. And I think I mentioned earlier, like, the AP, it also helps on your gravitic flux. It helps on the upwards part of it. So if I have 100% AP, instead of lifting them up for 50 damage, I'm lifting them up for 100 damage. The slam is still the exact same amount. Therefore, who cares? Like, okay, the person I'm lifting has 900 HP. Going from 50 to 100 is not going to be the difference very often. It's not worth putting 60,000 cash into that extra 50 damage. So, unfortunately, no rock builds. And then the other thing I forgot to mention earlier on is Astrophysical. It is the single worst power in all of Stadium. Like, never buy it for any reason. The only times you think you'd want to buy it is like, you could keep a Reinhardt, Junker Queen, maybe a Reaper Genji off of you. But like, and it looks decent in the practice range. So like, this is actually going to make it look decent. Like, you punch him, it's like, oh, he travels kind of far. But the thing you have to remember though is this is a guy who is not moving. Like an actual Reinhardt or Queen or whatever, they're going to be holding W in the like to counter your punch. So they're not going to go that far. They're going to be holding their W key and they're going to keep kind of coming towards me. That's kind of funny. And then the other part is, while they're like, you're punching them away, because they're Reinhardt Hammer and the Junker Queen Carnage and like Genji Ultimate, they all have pretty big range for a melee. I think it's like 2 to 3 times, maybe even 4 times longer than your actual melee range. While you're punching them away, they're still getting, like, they're still going to be hitting you as you're punching them away. When you could just simply just go in and buy Zero Gravity and just do this instead. And now you're just not even close to them at all. So, like, it's way better to do this. But never buy was it Astrophysical? Never buy Astrophysical for any reason. Never buy Singularity, never buy Mass Driver, never buy Astrophysical. If you're going to buy one of them, you can do Mass Driver, don't do Singularity. And you can do Mass Driver for a fun little rock shooting build. Don't build into AP though, just get it for fun. I think that's also okay. If you want to be Sniper Rock and have fun, go for it. But yeah. That's going to do it for my Sigma Stadium guide. Thank you so much for watching. This was my most in-depth guide to date. It took me way longer than usual, so if you liked the video or you learned anything at all, please, if you could leave a like on the video, that would mean so much to me. And feel free to subscribe as well. I am posting a lot of stadium guides. I've gone through most of the tanks. I've done a couple DPS. I will be doing one for every single stadium hero. At some point, I'm shooting to do 1 to 2 of these per week. I skipped last week because of the new season. I wanted to explore the new heroes. But I'm shooting to do about 1 of these every week to week and a half, because they do take a bit of time and I have a full-time job. But yeah. So again, yeah, feel free to subscribe. If you learn anything, leave a like. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.